It is week 10 on the Pro Football Weekly Television podcast. Thanks so much for joining us once again. It's a thrill to be back with you. I'm joined as always by Wayne Larrivee and Hub Arkish. I am Arthur Arkish, and let's dive right in, guys. I don't know when the NFL trade deadline started to resemble the NBA trade deadline, but what a busy start to the week it was. Wayne, I'll come to you first. General impressions or one kind of team or deal you kind of can't take your mind off at this point.
Well, Arthur, this set the record for trade deadline deals in the NFL at 22, breaking last year's record of 18. So the NFL is starting to catch up with the other sports in terms of a trade deadline. Jerry Jones tried to restock his defensive line. I think he did a pretty good job of that, although he gave up some capital to do so. The Jets are cleaning house. They've got a gaggle of first round, second round, third round picks coming up in the next couple of drafts. Howie Roseman realizes he doesn't have the same juggernaut he had a year ago in Philadelphia, so they made some moves on defense to try to shore that up.
Well, it's obvious Wayne and I have been working together for about 35, 40 years because I'm focused on the exact same three teams. And maybe that's just because they were the biggest movers, if you will, this week. I'm particularly impressed with the Eagles, although the reason they're the defending champs and the best team in the NFL. He goes out and gets Jalen Phillips and Michael Carter and Jared Alexander to, all to upgrade that defense. And not that the defense has been bad, but these are all Pro Bowl type players, some of them a little bit older, but he knows exactly what he's doing in adding them. Now, the Jets have not known what they've been doing for years, but what they've gotten in the last couple of days, they've got what? 2 first rounders this coming year, 3 first rounders the year after. They're going to have 7 picks in the top 2 rounds in the next 2 drafts. That's how you do a rebuild. And then I got to turn it around. I think the Cowboys really screwed up the offseason, and I don't think it got any better with the trade deadline. Yeah, they made a big move, to get Williams on the defensive line, and that's going to help. But he ain't going to cover for Micah Parsons. He's not even close to Micah Parsons. And on an annual basis, they're going to be paying him close to the same thing. And now they've gotten rid of first round picks in order to make these deals. I know what Jerry Jones is doing. He's trying to stay, as he's admitted, he's trying to stay on top of everybody's view, make the Cowboys the most talked about team. Well, they're being talked about right now, but I think a lot of people are talking about how he has screwed up this offseason, not how he has fixed anything for his ball club.
Yeah, Hub, it almost feels like Jerry Jones has maybe showed his age a little bit and I realize that the NFL is kind of recommitting to the ground game across the league, but for him to get 2 run stopping first defensive tackles now in Kenny Clark and Quinnen Williams and really not address this pass rush and what he lost with Micah Parsons. And then to kind of dabble into those picks that he got from Green Bay to do so was pretty stunning to me. To be sure, Quinnen Williams is going to be looking for a new deal sooner than later. So I don't even know how much money he ends up saving on these kind of series of moves, but definitely pretty wild. We'd be remiss if we didn't just mention the Indianapolis Colts too. They certainly went all in, guys. A couple first rounders for Sauce Gardner. The price tag was heavy, to say the least, but Sauce Gardner is a difference maker if he can take away one half of the field or you can take away the opposing number 1 receiver on a weekly basis. So credit to them, Shane Steichen and Chris Ballard, for going all in. But I think it also speaks to kind of the quarterback situation. They must be pretty smitten with Daniel Jones because his leverage just went up on his next deal. They don't have the draft capital at this point to replace him, I wouldn't think.
Arthur, if I could just add something on that. Indy, they're a good team. There's no question about that. They're a contender right now at 7-2, but I don't really love that trade. I mean, they gave up way too much to get one guy. They're not a team that is one player away. And I really thought that what they paid for that move really didn't make a lot of sense.
Yeah, and how about kind of agree with you in that regard. 2 first-round draft choices for a cover corner. A cover corner is never as valuable as a pass rusher, an edge rusher. And so I think they paid a pretty high, steep price to come down with this cornerback. He'll make them a better team, as Arthur, as you mentioned. But, boy, that was a lot to pay for a cornerback.
Yeah, we're all in agreement on that one. And it sounds like we're all in agreement. The Jets really had set themselves up well. We'll wait and see. I know the media is all excited. I guess we're the media too, but you're hearing a lot about how the 2026 draft is potentially weak and 2027 is the true treasure trove a couple years down the road. So the Jets really have positioned themselves well in that regard. But as we all know, finding that franchise quarterback, as no one knows better than the Jets, perhaps, it's not as easy as it sometimes seems like it will be. So that will determine just how quickly the Jets can, in fact, get out of the basement. But An interesting trade deadline, no doubt. We also have some very interesting games to get to, as we usually do. We got four off the top. And Wayne, I'll come to you first. The natural place to start. Philadelphia Eagles heading into Lambeau. Eagles well rested coming off the bye, and the Packers, of course, licking their wounds after a pretty shocking defeat Sunday.
Yeah, and the Eagles, to me, is studying them on tape, Arthur, look like a team that is starting to put things together a little bit. They admitted we've got a problem at cornerback outside opposite Quinion Mitchell. They addressed that, they think, with Michael Carter, maybe Jair Alexander, if he has anything left in the tank. But he's missed a lot of games in the last 3 or 4 years. Injuries take its toll. He did not look good in the opener at Buffalo. Matter of fact, the Ravens benched him healthy the last couple of weeks, and so I'm not sure how much he'll add to the party there. But as Hub mentioned, when you add Jalen Phillips, that addresses the need at pass rush. They're not getting the quarterback the way they did last year, and that's a big factor. But as you got mentioned, they're coming off the bye week. I thought they put together two very good games at Minnesota, and they flashed through the New York Giants after losing 2 games in a row. After a 4-0 start, they won 2 now straight, come off a bye. They, to me, look like they and Detroit, in my opinion, are still the best teams overall in the NFC. They may not be playing the best right now, but they are the best teams in the NFC, and I don't think it's that close.
And I think the Eagles have been doing everything just to get ready for the playoffs. They know they're going to be in them. They're 6-2, and you look at what they did this week. They just added key parts on that defense that has struggled at times. The other thing that's been strange about them is Saquon Barkley has not gotten off to the first half of the season this year that he did last year. But look at what happened last week. He went off, and if he gets all the way back, now this is the Eagle team we're looking for. Last week, 14 carries for 150 yards, touchdown. He just had a huge game, 10.0 per carry. And now the Packers have been really good on both sides of the ball. They're 5th in offense. They're 2nd in defense. The stats all look good, but are the big plays there on both sides of the ball? Because they've needed big plays to win a lot of those games that they've won in the second half. And I'm just not so sure where this team is at right now. They're a playoff team too. There's no doubt in my mind about that. But I think a lot of people were looking at them. Are they the favorites in the NFC, I should say, going into the last couple of weeks? And maybe they were, but after what happened last week with Carol, I just don't see how they didn't show up for that game. It's what Wayne was talking about off the top of the show. They just haven't been ready every week. And if you want to be one of the top 2 or 3 teams in the league, you got to be ready every week. Now, you can lose a game here and there. You can't lose one the way they lost one last week.
Just to kind of wrap this up really quick, the Packers have been spotty. They played down to their competition, is what everyone around the league keeps saying. And maybe they have, but they've been wildly inconsistent. They average about 7.5 points or 9 points in the first half of their games. They average almost 18 points in the second half. So it's just been a really inconsistent team. If they're playing down to competition, they're going to have to play up to competition this week, Monday night.
All right, guys, moving on to the a good division battle out west, Hub. We got the LA Rams visiting the San Francisco 49ers. Niners are like the walking wounded, most recently losing first-round edge rusher Michael Williams. For whatever reason, though, Kyle Shanahan has really had Sean McVay's Rams number, at least in the regular season. I believe it's 10 of the past 13. When you look at the situation, though, San Francisco is facing, do you give them a fair shot? I realize they're at home in this one, but how do you kind of assess this one?
Well, guys, I was thinking going into this week that the Rams may be the best team in the NFC right now. Now, I don't know that they will be at the end of the season. I don't know that they have the best roster, but they've been playing the best football. There's no doubt in my mind about that. And, they've won 3 straight. They've won 4 of their last 5. The one loss, interestingly enough, was to the 49ers. And that's what makes this a really interesting divisional match. But at the end of the day, the Rams are just doing a great job. Matt Stafford, 281 yards, 4 touchdowns last week. You got Kyron Williams and Blake Corum both playing really well at running back. And Puka Nacua is playing really well too. And then I turn around and look at the 49ers. I don't know how they're 6-3 with all the injuries. I keep looking at this team and this roster. and say, how are they doing it? Now, they are starting to get a little bit healthier, and Mac Jones, I don't know where he came from, but he's been, the savior for that team. He's got 1,832 yards passing, 10 TDs, 5 interceptions. That's not the best numbers compared to some of the top quarterbacks, but good enough to keep winning. And Christian McCaffrey hasn't been running the ball this year the way he has the last couple years, but he's the 7th leading receiver in the NFL right now, 626 yards. He's got 4 touchdowns receiving, 4 touchdowns rushing. He's a weapon that you have to deal with every time the 49ers offense is on the field, and you don't know what you're dealing with, trying to stop the run with him or trying to take the pass away from him. So I love this game. I think it's one of the best games we've seen so far this year as far as how even the matchup is, and I'm not even sure at this point. I'm going to have to pick somebody I know, but I'm not sure which way to go on this one right now.
Biggest discrepancy in this game is the pass rush. The Rams have 27 sacks. That's 3rd in the NFL. The Niners are averaging an NFL low 1.2 sacks per game, 11 sacks in 8 games. That could be the difference in this one.
All right, Wayne, I'm coming back to you. The New England Patriots tied for the best record in the league, visit the Tampa Bay Buccaneers coming off their bye, seemingly getting a little bit healthier, although Bucky Irving's status remains very much up in the air.
Okay, I'm not real big on teams like the Patriots and the Indianapolis Colts, all right? I'm just going to say it right out. I think they're going to make the playoffs. They're having magical seasons. It's wonderful. They will get boat raced first or second round of the playoffs. Take your pick. Tampa Bay is a team that's very solid, very good. Quarterback has been playing great this year, but Drake May of New England's played very well as well. These are the beauty of this game. You got 2 MVP caliber quarterbacks going at it, and should make for a very interesting day. I think Tampa gets it done on the road over New England.
Yeah, I look at the Patriots, and I'm with you, Wayne. I know they're 7-2. I'm very impressed with what they've done. But of those 7 wins, only 1 they beat Buffalo. That's the only winning team they've beaten so far. And so I've got to see them play some more good teams. And they're getting a good team this week in Tampa. The Bucs are much better than I think anybody realized coming into the season. But they're the real thing at 6-2. I'm not sure the Patriots are at 7-2. I'll tell you what is right about the Patriots, though. Drake May, I just, when he went 3rd in that draft, I didn't see that one coming. Didn't know how that was going to work out, but he's probably playing the best of any of the rookie quarterbacks so far this year, and that's why the Patriots are 7-2. Now, Christian Gonzalez, who was their 1st-round pick, last year, had a head injury last week. He says that he's passed the concussion protocol, but they need him on the field for that defense to be able to get done what they have to get done. You look at Tampa, we keep talking about the 49ers and other teams' injuries. They're without Chris Goodwin, Mike Evans, Jalen McMillan, Bucky Irving, Hassan Reddick. Now, I don't know if any of those guys are going to go this week. They've all been out the last couple of weeks, and guys have stepped up. You've got Emeka Ibuka with 5 touchdowns. Sterling Shepard have done the job for Mayfield. They've been the receivers that he needed, to win these games. And again, they're coming off a bye, so they should be rested. Hopefully, some of those guys who've been out, maybe 1 or 2, can come back this week. I just think in this one, you've got similar records, but a much better roster and a better football team in Tampa Bay.
All right, great stuff, guys. We pause now, as we do each week, from our look aheads to take a look back on the 40th anniversary of the 1985 Chicago Bears in Week 10 at Soldier Field in the elements. It was Bears 24, Lions 3. Please enjoy this clip.
Bears returned to Soldier Field for the 10th week of the 1985 season to face the Detroit Lions, and they were greeted by wind and rain. So Mike Ditka decided to keep the ball on the ground. He let the offensive line grind up the Lions, and then the defense put them away. Neither wind nor rain nor lack of a first-string quarterback could stop the Bears in 1985. With an injured Jim McMahon on the bench, Steve Fuller started the first of 3 games in a row. Against Detroit, Fuller skillfully guided a Bear ground attack necessitated by the windy conditions at Soldier Field. Fuller ran for 2 touchdowns against the wind, and Walter Payton and Matt Suhey ran like the wind as the Bears controlled the ball for a whopping 41 minutes. The Chicago defense was well rested and limited the Lions to a mere 106 yards total offense and a game-long drive of only 24 yards. William Perry finally shone on the defensive side of the ball, leaving quarterback Eric Hipple in a fog. The refrigerator recorded 2 of the 4 sacks the Bears had on this chilly November afternoon. While Perry rushed the quarterback, Payton rushed for 107 yards and Suhey for 102. For Sweetness, it was his 5th consecutive 100-yard game.
It's a good feeling, and you want to stay that way. So concentration becomes more intense. Each play becomes more important, but I guess that's life in the fast lane.
Even Calvin Thomas got in on the act as the Bears rushed for 250 yards and upped their record to 10-0 with a 24-3 victory. For the time being, at least, Steve Fuller had silenced his critics.
There was certain critics that were a little concerned about the fact that we may not be able to win if Jim was not going to play. And, you know, certainly I feel like that if I'm asked to fill in, I've got to produce. You know, I have played some in this league. I'm a 7-year veteran, and when they ask me to play, I should be able to perform.
Steve just played great offensive line. Everybody just performed well. That we can put pressure on people and just caters to our advantage, and we out there having fun, Johnny, I tell you. It's just great that we're 10-0.
Awaiting the Bears was a huge game with the Cowboys in Irving, Texas. A win would clinch the NFC Central Division and once and for all prove that the Bears could play with the NFL's elite.
We, of course, will take a look at that Cowboy game next week, but it's great to look back and enjoy these games each week, and we look at one like that where the war was won on the ground, and I said one of the leaders of the charge, Tom Thayer, one of the Bears' outstanding offensive linemen. Thanks for joining us on the show, Tom. Games like that, you didn't often have 200-yard rushers. Matt and Walter both got there that week. What did it do for you guys on the line?
You know, one thing about that game specifically, Coach Ditka came into the offensive line meeting on Saturday, the day before the game, and he said, all right, you guys, I will not throw the ball tomorrow. He goes, I am going to run the ball every play. And I think we only threw the ball maybe 5 times in the whole game. And he says, the weather, and with Fuller starting his first game of this year, I want to run the ball effectively, keep our defense off the field, keep your offense running the ball, and take up as much time as possible on the ground. And it worked out for us.
You know, people are a little bit surprised this year with the success the offensive line is having, and they talk about because they've become a unit. Well, you guys, I mean, Horn and you and Hilge and Bortzy and Jimbo, you seem like nobody ever missed a game. You guys must have had a streak of 30, 40 games with everybody playing, didn't you?
Yeah, we had the opportunity to stay together. I think the camaraderie and the key to success amongst offensive line is communication. This offensive line for the 95 team is communicating from tackle to tackle as well as we did from tackle to tackle in 1985. They are tremendously strong up front, and that was the key to our success in our running game in '85 was the communication of the offensive line. And I think it goes hand in hand. If you can communicate up and down the line, you can have an effective running game.
All right, a lot of fun revisiting that one. The Bears all over the Detroit Lions. Didn't need Jim McMahon to do it, Hub. They had Walter Payton and Matt Suhey. It turns out that's all they needed and that great defense in this one.
Yeah, both of them rushing for over 100 yards. I mean, you know, Ditka told the team going into the game that he might not throw a pass in this one, that he was going to run the ball. I think, what did he throw, 5 passes in this game or something like that? It was a team that
7 passes, I think.
Okay, well, a team that didn't match up with them, and they just said we're going to try and keep everybody else healthy. With McMahon out right now, they didn't know he'd be out for 2 more weeks after this. But it was just a mismatch. This is where the Bears were starting to evolve as a really special football team. This was their 10th straight win. We didn't see the Dolphins coming 2 weeks later yet, but they were just getting better each week, and the defense was really becoming dominant. Now nobody could score on them. The Lions couldn't do anything. It was just a complete blowout. And you know, is where the Stars took over. And again, that defense, we kept finding a new guy each week, you know, to be the guy who ran the defense. Other than, of course, Singletary and Hampton, you know, there were certain guys and guys just taking off. I think it might have been, I can't even remember. It was one of the other linebackers who had a huge game in this one. And they just were too good for the Lions. It was just that simple.
I forgot how bad the weather was that day. My goodness, it was brutal to hawk off the lake, and it was just a tough day. But I was really happy for my guy, Steve Fuller, because when I was in Kansas City, he was a first-round draft choice of the Chiefs out of Clemson, and he would go on to play a key role in this 85 season, starting with that game right there.
That was a fun one, a good little teaser. Make sure you come back next week. We'll be talking more about Steve Fuller in relief and these 85 Bears as they keep rolling. And I'll just say very quickly, guys, watching Walter Payton interviewed in the locker room after that game, just his intense focus. It almost seems like it was building for him. This was his 5th straight 100-yard game, and he seemed all business to me. So it was really fun to see that. And again, really fun to revisit this whole season. So with that, we're going to, sorry, Hub.
No, the one thing I was going to add to that is you got to remember where those Bears were at in their careers. And I think Walter saw this as his chance at that Super Bowl that he didn't have yet. He had everything else already. He was already, you know, one of the best, maybe the best running back in history, but he wanted that Super Bowl. And I think this was the week where he started to see it coming.
A lot of fun. Stick with us. We'll be reviewing the 85 Bears as we continue. Now, though, we're going to dive back into the current Week 10 NFL season with a lot more games to get to. At this point, guys, we just do rapid fire picks, and we'll get in to our best bets on the way out. So I will start. We had one more marquee game circle that we ended up pushing later, and that is the Pittsburgh Steelers and the LA Chargers. Wayne, let me come to you first on that one.
Yeah, this I think is going to be a high-scoring game. Both these offenses can score. The quarterbacks are playing very well. The problem for the Chargers, the Los Angeles Chargers, still hard for me to say that, but they're missing a couple of tackles. Joe Alt suffered a season-ending high ankle sprain. He'll get surgery. Two-time Pro Bowl tackle Rashawn Slater suffered a season-ending patellar tendon rupture in training camp. So this is a team that's really kind of put together an offensive line on a string, but Justin Herbert's playing real well. I like the Chargers in this one.
Yeah, these are two teams that have been fairly inconsistent, even though they both have winning records. And not having both their tackles really worries me about this one for the Chargers. But at the same time, the Steelers, the defense played really well last week. The offense has been off all year long. I just think at home, the Chargers, they find a way. They've traded for another offensive tackle. And I think this is where Justin Herbert steps in and says, okay, I've got to carry this team sometimes. And this is one of those games where I think he will.
All right, good stuff, Hub. I'm coming back to you with the Las Vegas Raiders coming off that tough overtime loss and now on a short week go into Denver.
Well, yeah, and there's no comparing these two football teams. The game in Denver, the Raiders, I think, have been going backwards really the last couple of weeks. And Denver just consistently, and they're really good on both sides of the football. I think everybody sees them as maybe being really good on defense, but not very good on offense. Their offense has played better than their defense so far the last few weeks. So I don't see this one as much of a matchup. I think Denver wins this one pretty easy.
Well, I don't know. Denver has a habit of keep making every game they play close one way or the other. But I agree with Hub. Denver's a much better team.
All right, Wayne, we got the Atlanta Falcons and Indianapolis Colts clashing in Germany. The Colts have their new addition, of course, in Sauce Gardner.
Yeah, they're going to hustle them over the Atlantic and hope we can cover somebody. I don't know what to make of it. The Falcons are just one of the biggest mysteries I've seen. The Colts have played consistently well. I don't believe they're a Super Bowl team, but I do believe they're a good regular season team. And I'm going to pick the Falcons in this one in a tight one.
I'll tell you what, Wayne, I would like to agree with you. It's just that the Falcons, every week, they're a different team. One week, I think, okay, they're a contender again. The next week, I think they're going to finish last and get the first-round pick. And then I turn around and I look at the Colts. They have found a way to keep on winning, and you're going overseas. So I think you may be right. I wouldn't be surprised if the Falcons pull the upset. But looking at the records and what they've done so far, the Colts have been finding a way, and I think they find a way here in this one, too.
All right, Hub, we got the New Orleans Saints visiting the Carolina Panthers. The news early in the week is that Rico Dowdle especially banged up after running all over the Green Bay Packers.
Well, yeah, except the good news for him this week is that the Saints are just a bad football team, and the Panthers have been a pretty good football team. I just don't see the Saints pulling off any big upsets right now. And the Panthers, they're playing very well. You look at their roster, they still got some things to fix, but in this one, they're just a much better team, and I think they find a way to get the win.
Yeah, whether Rico Dowdle plays or not, he was very impressive, by the way, last week in Green Bay. They ran for 163 yards against Jeff Hafley's defense. That doesn't happen often. I like Carolina.
Wayne, the Chicago Bears host the New York Giants. Ben Johnson said today the Giants might have the best defensive front the Bears will face all season. They have enough else to make this one interesting.
Yeah, they do. I watched them, the Giants against the Eagles, and even though the Eagles were boat racing and the Giants' defensive front was taking its toll, I think that's going to be an interesting matchup. I wonder if the Bears' defense will keep this game closer than it should be, but Chicago should win this comfortably.
Yeah, it's funny, guys. The Bears have been a pick of the week with a lot of guys who I trust. I was at Hallis Hall today listening to Ben Johnson, and after listening to him, I worried a little bit about this one for the Bears. I think the Giants may surprise them a bit. The fact that the game is in Chicago and the Bears have been clearly playing better football is going to have me taking the Bears. I think they find a way to win, but I think this one may be kind of ugly like last week. I don't think they're going to play their best game. I just think that they are clearly the better roster, and that's what gets them the win at home.
Don't look now, guys, but it sounds like the weather actually could be getting ugly by Sunday, too. So that could be another element at play in this one. won't be a factor at Reliance Stadium in Houston, Hub, where the Texans and Davis Mills, not CJ Stroud, it sounds like, will be playing host to the Jacksonville Jaguars, who did get that big overtime win to kind of keep their season alive at this point, I think.
Yeah, and I don't know a whole lot about Davis Mills, but I know CJ Stroud hasn't been playing the same kind of football he did the first 2 years in the league. And the Texans, every time I'm ready to write them off completely, then they go and win a game I didn't expect them to win. So now they're sitting there at 3-4. You see the Jaguars at 4-3, and I never believed the Jaguars at 4-0 or 4-1 or whatever it was. They are an improved football team, but I like the Texans roster better. I think I like the Texans coaching a little bit better. The Texans are at home, so I worry about the quarterback position, but nonetheless, it's the defense that is playing so well for the Texans right now, and I think that's enough to knock off the Jaguars in this one.
Yeah, the Jaguars, in my opinion, have been kind of inconsistent. They beat the Chiefs. That's their marquee win. And that's about it. You know, you look back, they win here, lose there. This is so big for Houston, Arthur. They can't lose this game, okay? They just can't if they hold any hope of making the playoffs in the AFC. So I like Houston at home.
All right, we got an AFC East matchup here, weighing the Buffalo Bills. Josh Allen coming off, I think, his best game of the season, visiting the Miami Dolphins, who we thought might be a little more torn down, but actually didn't make quite as many moves as some anticipated.
Yeah. Buffalo. I don't care how. I'll give you 15 points and I'll still take Buffalo.
Yeah, Wayne, we're together on this one. I think the Dolphins season is over. I don't really expect them to show up, the second half of the season. I think the head coach is in serious trouble. I'm not sure he will survive the season. And the Bills, they were a little iffy for a couple of weeks, but they bounced back big last week when they had to. And they're definitely the much better team in this one. Even on the road, I like Buffalo a lot in this one.
All right, handful of games left to get through here. We'll kind of go through them rather quickly. Hub, the Baltimore Ravens, winners of 2 in a row. Lamar's back, 4 touchdowns last week. And they visit the Minnesota Vikings, who just had a huge win, obviously, over Detroit and getting J.J. McCarthy back.
Yeah, this is a tough one. I think the Ravens are legitimately on their way back, but Minnesota impressed me last week. I did not see them going in and knocking off the Lions. I just think the Ravens have more talent, and I don't think Minnesota has proven that they can do this in back-to-back weeks. So I'm going to stick with the Ravens winning another one and getting that closer back to the hunt.
Yeah, I'm a little afraid of the Ravens and the way they're starting to put it together now. And it wouldn't surprise me if they're in the playoffs come January, especially even after that terrible start. In this one, yeah, I kind of like them at Minnesota.
All right, Cleveland Browns and the New York Jets in the playing for next year or the year after that bowl win.
Who's left, by the way, on the Jets? Do they have enough guys to suit up to play a game after the trade deadline deal? Draft picks can't play, so until they're drafted. But anyway, it's a pick 'em to me. I don't know what to make of that game.
Well, yeah, I mean, to me, the Browns are playing really good defense, and I don't think anybody's caught into that yet, but they're one of the top 5 defenses in the league, even though they haven't won a lot of games. But this is a team that's only won once and maybe got lucky winning that one. So even though Cleveland's got to go on the road, I just don't think the Jets have enough with Justin Fields if he's playing quarterback against that Browns defense. I like Cleveland in this one.
Hub, now Jacoby Brissett's Arizona Cardinals visit the Seattle Seahawks, the increasingly dangerous Seattle Seahawks, I think.
I think the Seattle Seahawks are much better than anybody's figured out. That may have showed up this weekend, but this is a really good football team, and they're playing a bad football team. So I like Seattle in this one.
Yeah, I like Seattle, and you don't even have to give me a point spread on that one. I like them to win outright and cover whatever spread is on that game.
And the last one we're going to get to, Wayne, the Detroit Lions visiting the Washington Commanders now, I would assume, without Jaden Daniels for the season, but certainly this week.
Yeah, certainly this week. He may be back later from what I understand, but now Detroit coming off the loss to Minnesota, they're not going to lose at Washington. They just aren't.
Yeah, the Lions would win this one if Daniels was playing, and Daniels isn't playing, and so I think the Lions are going to blow them out.
All right, great stuff, guys. As we always do, we wrap up the PFW TV podcast with our best bets. Wayne, I'm going to come right back to you. What's your lock of the week?
I like the Buccaneers over the Pats. That's my lock of the week. And what am I giving the Patriots?
Minus 2.5.
Uh-huh. Yeah, I like Tampa Bay to win this game.
All right, very good. Hub, what are you looking at?
Well, I think I tipped my hand a little bit a couple minutes ago, but my lock is the Seahawks over the Cardinals. The Seahawks are only giving them 6.5. I think they'll beat them by at least 16.5.
All right, really good. I am looking this week, actually the Thursday night game, which can be a little precarious, but I like Bo Nix to get at least 25 rushing yards, and I brought the line down from 9.5 to only 5.5. So I imagine the Broncos win comfortably, but they need to win by at least 6. That will get you almost 2-1 plus 188 on your money. So let's see if I can finally get hot on this podcast. Jim Kizios, the Pro Football Weekly television president, has a 2-team 6-point teaser for you. He likes the Panthers at -5.5, and he likes the Patriots at +2.5. That's at your standard teaser rate of -120. And finally, Gridiron AI. They use cutting-edge artificial intelligence to beat the odds. They have 3 top 5 finishes in the NFL Pick Watch contest over the past 5 seasons. They've consistently beaten the odds and made all of us money on this podcast. And this week, Gridiron AI is looking at the Panthers -5.5, the Patriots +2.5, and their lock of the week is the Green Bay Packers money line. That will do it for this week's Pro Football Weekly television podcast. We're so thrilled that you have joined us. We hope you enjoyed. We hope you have a great weekend, and good luck with your bets. We will see you in the same place, same time next week on the PFW TV podcast. Thank you.